some peculiar dreams started to come to him.
Young man.
He went and he told his brothers. And because he told his brothers about this dream that he had, he thought, I guess, everybody would be on your side. Remember,
Jesus.
when God has purpose, you not only God knows your purpose, the enemy also knows. So believe you me, when the enemy gets with what your purpose is, he is going to try to get rid of you before you are conceived. So Joseph went ahead and he told his brother, said he had a dream, and he dreamed that they were in the field and they began to put these sheaves together, and he told them how his sheaves stood up and then the other sheaves bowed down to him. And then the brothers went and told the father, and the father said yes, and the father approached him. He said, yeah, I only didn't have one dream, but I had two dreams. And he told the father, say, I had a different dream. He said, the other dream I had was, he said, the sun and the moon. And he said, the 11 stars. He said, all of them bow down to me, meaning Joseph. See, but this didn't stood well with everybody. See, when you are there doing the will of God, or in the purpose of his will and your destiny that he has designed for you, the enemy is going to fight you. Sometimes it fights you from without and from within. So you now have to realize who are your enemies. See, sometimes your enemies are going to be maybe the one who is closest. They're the ones you really can't see, you know. They're the ones when they hurt you,
The voice.
it cuts deep.
Oh, yes.
They're the ones when they do damage to you,
Oh, Jesus.
it takes a lot of forgiveness to get rid
Oh,
of that.
Jesus.
You say, but Joseph find himself in a place where his brothers say, we have to kill him. Then we know Reuben was the one who said, no, we shouldn't kill our brother.
Come on now.
Reuben said this man has a purpose. He knows, because God has a way of dealing with things. He said, this one has purpose. He said, let's throw him in a pit. See, man, we are in a place where now sometimes we find ourselves in the pit of our lives. But the pit is not your resting place, I want to tell you. The pit is not your resting place. The pit is to propel you to where you need to go. You need to stand up and understand this is a place where you have been placed, but it's not your eternity. Your pit is a place that is propelling you to where you need to go. He said they put Joseph in a pit. And he said there were some people passing by and they sold Joseph.
My God.
And they sold him from there into Potiphar's house. Said Potiphar's found out and understood something about Joseph. And we know that Potiphar, he was an Egyptian. We know that the God they worship, he wasn't the true and living God. But Potiphar realized something. He said that the God that this man served, he said this God has made Joseph prosper. He began to see everything that Joseph put his hand to start to prosper.
Come on now.
This is when God is working on your behalf.
Yes.
See, but then the enemy is not going to let that go unheard of.
Tell the
See,
story.
yeah, the
Tell
enemy
the
said,
story. Tell the story.
The enemy stood there and he said, yeah, well, I'm going to put this up in Potiphar's wife. And you know, she see a young boy, like who, Brandon and Matt, about
Good boy.
17, probably handsome young man. And you know, she feel like she could do pop away with them. But Joseph said, this
He was true,
wickedness,
this God. He was true.
this wickedness, how could I do this wickedness to my master? This wickedness, and how would this line up now with my God? He didn't only reverence his master, but he understood God has a destiny for him to fulfill. He said, this wickedness, I cannot do this. And because now Potiphar's wife feel like she couldn't have her way, she said she was
Shame.
sad.
She was shame.
She tell all the servants and everybody who were there to leave the house. They left and they went out to do what she, I guess, which their assignment was given by her. And he came in and she asked him not to leave, and she tried to seduce him.
Come on now.
See, this is yet still the enemy wants to take you off course. Because I didn't even give you all a subtopic.
My God.
He said it's your purpose, knowing your purpose. And one of my subtopic was to stay on course.
That's right.
The enemy
yes.
always wants to take us off course. And he said Joseph came into the house and she tried to seduce him, but Joseph let her know from the get-go.
Oh.
This wickedness against my master, and I can't do this before my God. See, Joseph was holding on to his integrity and the purpose that God has called him to be. We men, we find ourselves compromising our position. We find ourselves doing some things we ought not to do. You know, yesterday I sat down and I began to sit and I began to think, and then a phone call came to me. A phone call came to me was my good buddy KB, and he began to talk to me. And we were talking about music and what we need to do to get into that standard. And while I was talking to KB, someone was WhatsApping me. It was Cindy Russell from ZNS. She was WhatsApping. He said, you know, Alan, you know, he said, you remember the interview we did some weeks or some from last year, 2021? He said, you know, that will be aired today. And while I was yet still talking, Dirk Garrett called me, a great pianist in Grand Bahama, and he said, Alan, this is what we have to do with this song to get it to where it needs to go. See, when you in your purpose, you're going to find some things start to happen. You don't have control over it.
Come on.
And all of this began to happen just in sequence. It wasn't no hour after. While I was talking to KB,
My God.
Cindy was WhatsApping me and telling me this happened. While I had finished talking to Cindy on WhatsApp, Dirk started to talk to me about this song. And this is how God is working it out.
Hallelujah.
He said, Potiphar came back and his wife feed him that lie. He said he took Joseph and put Joseph in the inner dungeon or the inner prison. Man, we're going to be tested and tried. Our faith is going to be tested. So when you go up against those rough seas, we're going to find ourselves doing some things that we should not have to do. But I believe if we stand strong on the word of God, we will be victorious. He said, and Joseph was put into the innermost prison, where the king prisoners was. He's where the king prisoners was, who have offended the king. And he said there, the butler and the baker, both of them had a dream.
Come on now.
And they began to reveal it to Joseph. You know, well, they actually didn't say it, but Joseph saw that their countenance, they looked sad. So one began to tell his story. And Joseph stood there and he told them the story.
My Lord.
He interpreted the dream.
Oh, yes, he did.
Then the baker came and said, well, if you interpret the butler on, and that means he's going to be restored. He said, let me tell you mine.
Yes.
He said, well, I had a basket on my head and the birds of the king, and Joseph interpreted his dream. But you know, all dreams didn't come up the same. So his one was, he said, well, the king shall have your head at this time.
My Lord.
My Lord.
See, Joseph's gift was not only a dreamer, but he was a dream interpreter. If you do what God has asked of you, he will reveal to you, and meaning that your gift shall make room for you. One thing I gotta say, man and women of God, know who you are in Christ.
Come on now. Come on.
Know who you are.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
While the butler and the baker went out there, Joseph tell them, now, y'all don't forget me in here. He said, don't forget me.
Yeah.
Yes.
He reminded them, don't forget me.
Don't forget.
I am a stranger in a strange town, and even though everything that was done to him was unjust.
Oh, yes.
He didn't have nobody to advocate on his side. He didn't have a lawyer.
But God.
The people who were supposed to be on his side, his master had put him in the inner prison, so nobody there. But the thing it is, when God is with you, when God is with you, he said the prisoners the innkeeper of the prison, he gave everything over to Joseph. Joseph, whatever you say in this prison,
My God.
is good. Whatever you say, do you say kill that one, I'll kill him. You say let this one, that's what he tells Joseph. He said all is up to you. This is when God is on your side. He said then, 2 years later, Pharaoh had a dream.
Oh my God.
See, this is where God is working it all out for our good. In spite of how it looks, in spite of how the pandemic look, seems to be closing us in and they want to stay with, He is working it all out for the good to them that serve the Lord. He said, part of us, Pharaoh had a dream, and he dreamed about the 7 fat cows
Yes.
that were grazing, and then out of came the water was 7 lean cows. And they ate up the fat cows. But then he said, what was so amazing that nothing changed with the look of the lean one that ate the fat cow. We know sometimes when we ate and we see like, think our statue change, our tummy will come out a little bit and so on. Then he said, I had a next dream. And he talked about the corn.
Yes.
But Joseph said, well, right then he called for all the wise men. You see, he called them wise men.
Mm-hmm.
The soothsayers,
Mm-hmm.
astrologers,
Come on now.
call them the Obia workers, all those people. And he said, he tell them about this dream because he was feeling like he didn't know exactly what was going on. And he wanted the interpretation for this dream. He said, and he called all these supposedly wise men. He said, and they approached him. But none could have told him the dream.
Come on.
We know he got so angry with them that he really wanted to put them to death. But he said no. The butler said no. He said, this 2 years later, he said, you know, when I was in prison.
Yeah, come on.
He said, when I was in prison, he said, there was a man in prison.
Hallelujah.
See, this is God working on your behalf. See, ain't nobody got to tell him, you know. God is working it out. He said he will keep you whose mind is stayed on him. He said that there is a man in prison. He said, I had a dream and the baker had a dream. And exactly how he interpreted it came out just the way he said it. So Pharaoh said, well, send for this man. See, Joseph was yet still in prison clothes. And we know that he wasn't shaved. We know he wasn't cleaned up. Now, see, for Joseph had to go before the king or Pharaoh, he had to be washed, he had to be shaved, and he had to be given a different robe. He had to put those prison clothes aside. He had to leave them there. See, you coming out of the prison now and you going before the king. So those clothes would represent the prison. You have to leave them there. You can't look like a prisoner no more. Because you're going somewhere where God is taking you. This is what he said. You can't go before Pharaoh looking like this. Pharaoh said, bring him. And he came before Pharaoh, and Pharaoh said, I hear that you are a dream interpreter. Joseph said, no, it is not me. It is who? God who does the interpretation. This is not me.
Yes, he did.
So right away, Joseph was given reference to God. Men and women of God, this is what we need to do. When God bless us, when we wake up in the morning, whatever we have, don't forget, it is God. It is God who has strengthened us, caused us to walk. It is God who has opened up our eyes. See that alarm clock that you have on the side of your bed? That can't wake you up. That can't do anything for you. That may make some noise, these little chicken or crows sometimes. They can't wake you up. Only when we wake up, we hear them. He said, Pharaoh sent for him and tell him to come in. And Joseph tell him, well, all interpretation is of God. It is not of me. I cannot do anything of my own. And he said, well, both of the dreams that you told me, they represent the seed. He said there are going to be 7 years of plenty. Mean much more than enough. I know some of us have had those years with more than enough. I know there were years I was giving away cars. I know there were years I was giving away things.
My God.
He said, those years of 7 years of plenty, this is what we need to do.
Lord.
He said we need to get from the people. Ask them to give. And to give a percentage. He said, then what we gonna do? We gonna build storehouses. He said, but then you have to find people to manage this.
Come on now.
We have to find some people who are honest.
Oh, yes, Lord.
Some people who are honest, who have the wisdom and knowledge of God to do everything that God has purposed to do to get us through what we are going through. He said then there are going to be 7 years, what he call lean, or when there are going to be 7 years of farming. Meaning farming, nothing happening. He said, but because you have stored up in your storehouses or in your bonds or in your bank account, he said that when these 7 years of famine come, he said when these 7 years of famine come, he said you were going to live. He said you could now sell and you could live. He said, but this wasn't really what it was all about, you know. See, I want to take you back to the front of the story. Say, Joseph had a dream and he dreamed. Yeah, all y'all were bowing down to me. He said, you, all my brothers bow, and they get angry with him. They envy him for that. They wanted to get rid of him for that.
That's right.
He said, then he told his dad, he said, well, yeah, I dreamed the sun, the moon, and the 11 stars. He said, they bow down to me also. Daddy takes serious thought about that, and he took thought. He said, man, there's something to think about. Then it went back to Pharaoh. Pharaoh said, Joseph said, you have to appoint some people to do this. Pharaoh looked around. See, we coming from out of the prison to where God has called you to be. So, where you thought you is today isn't where God has called you to be. God have designed some places that have been strategically placed. The place that you have gone or what you have went through is only a preparation to get you to where you are going. It is to strengthen you. It is to encourage you. It is when you get that and you know you can stand against the wiles of the enemy, the storm that is coming against you. You can stand and you can weather the storm. Pharaoh began to tell me, see, I don't know of anybody with this kind of wisdom to do or to manage all this you've just given me. Pharaoh said, myself, I cannot do this. Say, what you tell me, I don't know. Pharaoh, and Pharaoh is the king. He said, I don't know of anybody in all of Egypt could take this on control, could manage this.
Come on now.
He said, well, if you could tell me all of this and God give you all of this, he said, you must be gotta be the man. I don't know anybody. So what God is saying, He is moving you from where you are, out of the prison, to being second in command over a whole nation. See, God has strategically placed you somewhere, Lord, and don't allow the enemy to stop you.
Come on.
Be faithful to God. Trust Him. Do what He has asked of you. Trust and be obedient. You're going to find some rough times in your life where you feel like you want to give in and do some things that is not of God. But I stand here to tell you, be obedient. Don't give in. Don't compromise. He's going to be there. He's going to keep you in perfect peace. If only your mind stayed on. He said, and Pharaoh stood and said, you're the man for the job. He said, not only that you are the man for the job, Pharaoh took off his ring and put his ring on and said, no man in Egypt is higher than you, other than me. This is when God is going to move you. See, some people are not going to like you from where you are. See, some people are going to like you from where God is taking you. See, some people, they are not going to stand to you. But where God is placing you, those brothers brothers were told in the dream and the father that y'all will bow to
And
Joseph.
they did. And they did.
Come on.
And he
now.
wasn't being facetious with this, nor was he being, in a way, trying to look, but he was only telling them the dream. In fact, Joseph was one of those persons I know interpreted his own dream. His dream came so plain to him, he didn't have to go to one person for an interpretation.
Come on now.
When he told them the dream, they knew exactly what he was talking about. He didn't have to say the dream was about this and it went around. He had to go through someone to interpret it. Not only that his brothers and his father and mother bowed to him, he said Pharaoh put him on a second chariot. See, the second chariot is now to show people who you are. See,
God.
see, some people have been put in a place and they are the chief or the CEO, but people don't know you. Pharaoh said, I ain't gonna just put you up there as a CEO or second in command and nobody know you. See, I could dress you in this robe. I can put the signet on you, the ring, and now I'm going to parade you throughout all the town. So they have to see you. In spite of what they are saying, in spite of what they are doing, they will bow to you. I have to tell you all this. Under the sound of my voice,
Hallelujah, Jesus.
God says He has a work for you, a great work. I don't want you to abandon your task.
Hallelujah, Jesus.
I don't want you to abandon your dreams and aspirations that God has birthed. That ain't come from no man. What in you hasn't come from no man. God has placed that in you. That is in you for you to bring to fruition. And at the end of your life, when you are called from earth to glory, the one thing I'm waiting for all of us to hear.
Well done.
Well done, thou good and faithful servant. Be welcome. Thank you very much.